Okay, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to take, gentlemen, if you could just settle down a little bit there. I'm going to take 5 questions, but only from the media, please. Only the media, and I would like you to give your name and state your organisation for me, please. There is a lady at the back there. Sorry, sir, lady just there, blonde hair.
Hi there, Lucy Fisher from The Times. Mr Farage, I wanted to ask you, Diane James suggested on the BBC EU debate last night that you had apologised for the Breaking Point poster. Is that the case?
I apologise for the timing, and I apologise for the fact that it was able to be used by those who wish us harm, but I can't apologise for the truth. I mean, after all, this was a photograph that your newspaper carried. It's a photograph that all newspapers carried. It is an example, actually, of what is wrong inside the European Union. We have a Eurozone crisis, with the Greek bailout coming back probably in July, and I'm afraid what Mrs Merkel has done has led to massive divisions between and within European countries. I would just say this, though, on posters. The one poster that no one seems to talk about, the one really offensive and abusive poster in this campaign, was put out by an organisation encouraging people from the ethnic minorities to vote, showing a skinhead menacing an elderly Asian lady, and that was an absolute disgrace.
Okay, gentleman with the glasses behind.
Thank you. Mesa Hall from the Daily Express. Nigel, in the perspective of where we are now, right at the end of the campaign, how unfair a fight do you think it's been over these last few months? And if Remain wins by a narrow margin, do you think the British people will have been cheated?
Well, I think that the way the Prime Minister and indeed the Chancellor have conducted this campaign is they've attempted at all times to use the full apparatus of the state to back their campaign. And, you know, up until a few weeks ago, if you applied to renew your tax with the DVLA, you got a nice little reminder that voting Remain was the sensible choice. And I think, quite frankly, to have used £10 million of taxpayers' money, some of it, of course, for their website and online activity, but most of it to produce a booklet that was delivered to every house in the land, I think was pretty much an abuse of position, and how I enjoyed walking up Downing Street and posting it back through Mr Cameron's door. But look, the establishment are very, very scared of this vote, and it's perhaps in a sense not surprising that they will, in a situation like this, do whatever they can to win. I don't think there's much point moaning about it, frankly. I think we have to accept the cards that we've been dealt, and I think despite of all of those things, you know, we are in with a very good chance of winning this tomorrow. You asked what will happen if Remain wins by a whisker. Well, I would say this, that any calls, any demands for a second referendum would come up against a pretty big obstacle. And that obstacle is called the House of Commons, where a lot of people regret ever giving the British people an opportunity to have this say. So if we were to fail tomorrow, then I suspect it would then be Denmark or perhaps the Netherlands that would vote to leave before we did. But I hope we're first, and I hope we save ourselves and give an example and inspiration to others, because there are going to be tens of millions of people tomorrow willing us on. An opinion poll in the Netherlands earlier this week for the first time showed a majority of the Dutch want to leave. In Denmark, if we were to vote to leave, a majority there want to vote to leave, and unbelievably, a poll in Italy the other day showed 48% of Italians want to leave. So this is a greatly unloved project that is well past its sell-by date. And I do understand your question. They have done everything they can to load the odds in their favour, but despite that, I still think we're going to win.
Okay. I'm going to go to the other side of the room now. Gentleman on the far left.
Owen Bennett, Huffington Post. At the BBC debate yesterday, the Leave side didn't commit to actually reducing the numbers coming in if they got control of immigration. Yeah, Nigel, in the case of Brexit, would you stay on as UKIP leader in order to force them to commit to that and to actually bring that, to reduce the numbers?
Well, there are 2 points there. The first is, look, at times this referendum has resembled a general election, with both sides putting forward manifestos. Actually, that's not what the referendum is about. What the referendum is about is who governs Britain. Are we to be an independent, self-governing nation that makes our own decisions, or are those decisions to be taken somewhere else? I think whatever happens tomorrow, I think that UKIP has an important role to play. Firstly, in the European Parliament, whereas the biggest delegation, we will actually watch those negotiations as they're taking place, pretty much at first hand, and we will act as the canary in the mine shaft. If it's not happening, we will let people know. But I do think within this country, we need to be there posing a direct electoral threat in case there was any backtracking. It would depend, of course, a bit who the Prime Minister was. But is there a role for UKIP after tomorrow? Yes, I really believe there is.
Okay. Okay, I've seen this gentleman, and I'll come to that lady there. Sorry.
Hi, Nigel, Nick Wallace, ITV News. You've been accused of poisoning the political debate with the Breaking Point poster and accusing the Remain campaign of politically exploiting Joe Cox's death. Are you proud of the way that you and the Leave campaign have conducted themselves?
Well, I've been accused of doing all sorts of ghastly things since about 2004. I was condemned for suggesting we should have an Australian-style point system. I mean, that was considered monstrous. I was called something really nasty in 2004 by the Home Secretary of the day for daring to suggest that allowing poor former communist countries into the European Union would lead to a big flow of people. So I am used to being roundly condemned. If you take on the establishment and you challenge their assertions, that is what happens to you. But I believe, as I said at the start, when I spoke earlier, that we have forced the referendum, we have changed the political agenda, and we've even changed the language and debate in this country. And I think that if we look back, I mean, obviously there's been this horrendous incident, but I think generally, most of the unpleasantness in the referendum has been effectively a civil war between various conservative individuals. And I think the conduct of the referendum, apart from that, has, compared to the Scottish referendum, actually been pretty measured and pretty sensible.
Okay, there's a lady over there in the red cardigan.
Hi, it's Emily Ashton at BuzzFeed. Can I just ask Mr Farage, do you plan to stay on as UKIP leader whatever the result tomorrow? And what's your main concern? What do you think the key is to winning? Which demographic kind of groups do you think need to turn out for you to secure victory?
I've said before, and I'll say it again, I've no idea what happens after tomorrow to David Cameron, me, or virtually anybody. I think this referendum has the potential to change politics in all sorts of extraordinary ways. All I care about is winning. It's what I came into politics for. So that matters to me an awful lot more than whether I stay on or don't stay on. I want to win tomorrow. I have given a lot, I think, along with my colleagues, to try and make this happen. And winning is really, to me, what matters.
Okay, I'll take one more question then. I've got... Sorry, you did pop in before the chap with the glasses. You had your hand up before. Sorry about that.
Espen Aas, Norwegian Broadcasting. Will you respect any result over 50% for Remain if that is the case?
Well, I think we've got no choice, frankly. The question that was asked earlier was, are there going to be accusations of cheating? There might be. But the chances of this House of Commons, this side of the next general election, giving us another chance at voting on this, I would have thought, frankly, is pretty close to zero. So this may well be tomorrow, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. Very interesting that you're from Norway. It must be dreadful coming from a country like that. I can't imagine how you even afforded the airfare over here. Mr Cameron keeps telling us how ghastly it is, but Norway is a warning to us. And it's a warning to us that relates back to the question over there. The Norwegian people voted not to join the European Union, and yet your parliament signed you up to the Schengen area and signed you up to membership of the single market. So Norway is the warning. But despite those difficulties, you're still richer than us, freer than us, and you can catch your own fish. It doesn't sound too bad to me.
Do you want to take one more?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. One or two?
A couple, yeah.
Okay, I will take a couple more because we're two people, and I'll take this gentleman in the front and who's had his hand up for a while. And I'll take that gentleman
my name is Edgar Caetano. I come from Portugal. I don't come from Norway. Any message to Portugal?
Well, you've been signed up to a currency to which you were never suited. It is sad, it is pitiable to see what has happened to Portugal and the Portuguese people. I can't promise you salvation is close at hand, but I do think that the third Greek bailout is going to provoke a very big debate. And perhaps the country to watch is Italy. The Five Star Movement have just won the mayorships of two of the biggest cities, including the capital. I think the situation of the Italian banks is perilous, to say the least. And at some point, you will break free from the euro and get back to having a floating currency and controlling your own interest rates. And frankly, the sooner it happens for the sake of Portugal, the better.
Okay. Nigel has said he'll take one more question. This gentleman there had his hand up.
Thank you. Jack Blanchard from the Mirror. Nigel, every polling company shows that since the middle of last week there's been a swing away from your side of the argument. Isn't the truth that as the final undecided people are making up their minds, they think your argument just doesn't add up? It's not worth the risk for them.
Well, actually, you're right to say there was a bit of a swing against. Perhaps it began on Wednesday or Thursday, I'm not sure. But by Saturday or Sunday, there had been... I mean, don't forget, this has been oscillating over the course of the last few weeks. So as of Sunday night, you're right to say there'd been a bit of a swing away and towards the Remain side. But over the last 48 hours, most of that swing away has already come back. So it's very difficult to tell. This is a turnout referendum. This is about who actually feels strongly enough to go out and vote. And in a sense, to sort of fully answer the previous question, I genuinely believe, because I've met them, because I've been travelling endlessly on an open-top bus in the wettest spring and early summer for 100 years. And I've been travelling around the country, and I've met a lot of people who agree with what we're trying to do, but either haven't voted for 10 years or 20 years or ever voted in their lives. They, I think, are the key to leave winning. Yeah, fine.
Okay. Sorry, ladies and gentlemen, I appreciate that. We took more questions than we'd planned to. I want to say thank you very much for all of you coming. I want you to thank all the supporters in this room. Without you and what you've been doing over the past few years, and what you will be doing over the next 24 hours to make sure that, as Nigel says, tomorrow becomes our Independence Day, we wouldn't be there. I want to say thank you very much to all of you, and more than anything else, for someone who came into politics from a good job in the city to fight for this country. I want to say thank you to Nigel for allowing me to be part of this momentous occasion. Thank you.
Welcome to the club.